Thank you, Doug, and it's a pleasure to be here. You know, Doug said he was delighted to be here this morning. I stand before you frightened to be here because of this little plug here, never boring. For an ex-bureaucrat like me, that is a high bar indeed. But I hope to clear the bar anyway and give you a little bit of a feel. As I mentioned, I am the president of TechAmerica. TechAmerica is the largest advocacy group for the high-tech industry in the United States. It was born just over 2 years ago out of the merging of 4 different groups: the American Electronics Association, the IT Association of America, the Government Electronics IT Association, and the Cybersecurity Industry Alliance, all coming together to form this largest group. We lobby in all 50 states, we lobby federally, also in the EU. We also, through our foundation, publish a look at employment in high tech across all 50 states, cyber states, and I'll refer to some of that data there. We represent directly some 1,000 companies, almost 6 million workers, and in addition to our own regional offices, we also partner with leading regional associations, and we are proud partners of the Tech Council of Maryland. So let me give you a little bit of an overview and a sneak preview, perhaps, of some of the things you'll hear articulated more throughout the day in terms of the state of Maryland technology. And all things considered, obviously, it is strong. Let me give you a few data points. 8% of Maryland's private sector workforce, 1 out of 12, employed by the high-tech industry. Now that is, as we look at it through our data points, and that excludes life sciences and bio. So just in areas like software engineering, internet and telecom, research and development, you've got about 200,000 employees here. And given the size of the state, that makes Maryland 4th highest in the country in terms of its concentration of technology workers. The 3 above you, just for your information, Virginia, Massachusetts, and Colorado. So Maryland is some pretty great company there in terms of the concentration. And of course, these jobs far, far above the national wage average. The average for these 200,000 jobs is about $87,000 per year, 83% higher than the national average. And as I like to observe whenever I can too, those jobs in research and development, computing and internet, tend to drive all the other industries. Even the human genome was unlocked because of advances in computing capabilities. So the state of Maryland technology, pretty strong, and the question then is where from here? Now when we at TechAmerica look at a market in any state, nation, overseas, when we do assessments for our member companies there, we try to look at 4 things. These are the same 4 things we urge the U.S. federal government to focus on: talent, trade, taxes, and technology. So let me review those real quickly, looking through that prism at the state of Maryland. Talent. To ensure a really 21st century workforce, states more than ever have to focus on STEM and lifelong learning capabilities. STEM workforce pipeline and lifelong learning as a culture. So at the K-12 and all the way through higher ed and lifelong. Obviously, some really phenomenal educational institutions here in the state of Maryland, starting with our host today, the University of Maryland, but also Johns Hopkins, and we shouldn't forget about the U.S. Naval Academy. Increasingly important in producing that pipeline are our community colleges. And here too, Maryland is very strong. I want to shine a light in particular on Anne Arundel Community College for a couple of reasons. One, their proximity to NSA and now DISA as well, and their course development in cybersecurity really is the gold standard across the country. And that's why the U.S. Department of Labor went to them to give them a grant to try to drive more cybersecurity expertise among Maryland workers. And then giving them the ability then to also market that across the country, which is what TechAmerica will help them do, to drive more cybersecurity expertise, which, as I'll come back to a little bit later, is going to be increasingly important. So those are some key points under talent, and I want to acknowledge that Governor O'Malley has recognized this cyber potential in particular, and has made it a goal of his administration to drive Maryland's awareness as the center of cybersecurity excellence in the country. So in addition to educational institutions, individual talent, Maryland has the highest concentration of employed doctoral scientists and engineers, highest in the country. Impressive. Second in the percentage of the population aged 25 or above with graduate or professional degrees, 15%. And fourth in percentage with bachelors, 35% of the working population. In addition to that, you've got to look at the talent that is here in some of the well-known companies. More than 11,000 people with Verizon here in Maryland. Lockheed has about 9,000, Northrop Grumman 11,000, SAIC 6,500, and we haven't even talked yet, as others will, about NIH, and I'm particularly aware of the capabilities out of the National Institute of Standards and Technology in Gaithersburg. So when you add those things up and the talent, you can really check the box that Maryland has significant assets in terms of talent. Turning to technology, Maryland certainly has technology in part because those leading companies I just rattled off, the Northrop Grummans, the SAICs, the Lockheeds, the Verizons, that helps. NIST helps kind of define the future and unlock some new capabilities in physics and computing. NIH doing the same on life sciences and bio, and those are converging. Those agencies are working together more, which should benefit the state of Maryland as well. You have the cybersecurity NSA anchor here in Maryland and a governor who's pushing that. So you kind of check a number of boxes there. But even in a down market, I want to observe in one area that is a down market that Maryland is well positioned. And that would be if you look at what the states are going to spend on their technology systems, because it's a pretty significant market driver. So about 64% of the states have projected that their budgets are going to be declining significantly, even though they're far behind in their application of IT compared to even the feds, who are at least a generation behind the commercial market. So 2 out of 3 of them roughly say their budgets are going down. 3 out of 4 of them say that in answer to that, they are going to have more shared services, single programs shared across the agencies, which is in today's market kind of a code for cloud services. Cloud services can only be unlocked and benefited when you have secure technology. So the security of that information in the cloud is going to be important. So even in a down market, Maryland is positioned with cybersecurity to help lead the move to cloud and really keep driving a key portion of their technology talent base. So that's talent, technology. Look at trade real quickly. Maryland, I guess you could say from literally day one, has understood the import of exports around the world, and that continues today, whether it's with Governor O'Malley trade missions or through the activities of just individual entrepreneurs and companies. Maryland tech exports as we look at them again, about $1.5 billion, so significant exports. 15% of the total exports, over $9 billion, are tech exports. And that directly supports just the trade element alone, or the export element alone, 14,000 jobs. So I think it's fair to say Maryland understands the importance of being open to the world on trade, which is one of the key factors to look at. Last, and certainly not least, would be taxes. And in this geographic location, that's going to be heavily influenced by the federal tax system. There, we are pushing hard for a complete tax reform that would be more innovation-minded in an innovation perspective as we move toward general tax reform. And part of that is then to make sure that capital is welcome here in the United States, that profits can be repatriated here in the United States, because that profit, that capital, is going to be well deployed and well treated compared to other options around the globe. We need to, as a country, strengthen and make permanent our federal R&D tax credit. You know, when that was begun in the 80s, it was the first of its kind in the world, the envy of the world, and since then, 23 other countries have enacted stronger R&D, usually permanent R&D provisions to lure that important component away from the United States. We know that jobs ultimately follow the R&D, and so we need to get back in the game. I don't think it's a U.S. aspiration to be number 24. Part and parcel of this would be to expand the Maryland R&D credits. States have R&D credits as well, and I'm sure there are many other pro-innovation things. I think you'll hear from Renee Winsky of Tech Council of Maryland and others on some other things that the state might do in the tax realm. So in terms of taxes, in terms of trade, in terms of technology, in terms of talent, and the state of technology today in terms of employment, you can say Maryland is well positioned. That's all good news. In addition to that good news, everybody everybody I can report to across the United States is trying to position their state to be more of a tech economy state, trying to figure out what they can do. So the competition, even as you rank near the top, people at the bottom are always trying to work their way up. And so that means keeping your eye on the ball and continuing to rise as one of the real centers of technology capability and the convergence of life sciences and bio and nano and IT. All of those things, Maryland is well positioned to be a real leader. So that's my view as an outsider, looking at what we call the 4 T's that we measure everyone else. You can go online and look at how Maryland stacks up on employment in various categories. We'll have a new cyber states coming out September 28th, and so that's available online at TechAmericaFoundation.org. And now I get to hand off the microphone and transition from more of an outsider's view to some of the real experts inside the state and local companies giving you their insights into where Maryland is going. Thank you.
Phil, thanks for coming. Thank you very much. Phil Bond.